I don't think this thing likes me.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to
Welcome back.
SHR Media
Welcome
Network.
back to Freedom Fest 2016. It is getting louder. It is getting noisier because more and more people are coming in. This is probably the best gathering in all the world of free-minded individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking today with C.J. Saylor of Young Americans for Liberty. The most essential issue on today's agenda, while the Second Amendment is high up there, is actually the First Amendment. It's free speech. CJ, it's great to have you here.
It's all right. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kenneth.
Listen, first and foremost, free speech. Why are we so concerned about free speech? I mean, I could go anywhere I want. I could talk. I could say what I want. I ain't got nothing to worry about. Why should we be worried about free speech today?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Kenneth, free speech right now, what we like to call at Yale, has a chokehold on it, especially on our nation's college campuses. We're finding that out of 200 or more college campuses surveyed, that 55% of those schools have policies in place that restrict speech. And these are in the forms of what we call free speech zones. This is a small area on the campus that students have to first get permission to go to pass out any materials or leaflets or flyers to talk about any event or any issue that they're passionate about. They must get permission to go to these areas.
Wait. Okay, they're on the college campus.
Right.
Public or private?
And
Because
both.
that's different.
Both.
Private, they don't have free speech rights.
Right.
Okay,
So what we're finding about private schools, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, a great organization that we work with, that actually has 9 free speech cases up right now on college campuses, find that if a campus promotes in their student code of conduct that they promise free speech, then they have to abide by that. But it's been tough. A lot of college campuses that we've been fighting have, especially on private campuses, have some wiggle room around that. But we're focusing on the public college campuses.
Okay, so these are public institutions that receive federal funding, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking, first and foremost, as a college institution, all speech would be free. I mean, you literally, where can you go unless you challenge other people and thus become intellectually more sound? Why the necessity for a free speech zone? At least on behalf of what the colleges are saying.
Right. Well, college is supposed to be a place where you could go and learn and engage and have a civil debate and learn if you're a Democrat, learn about conservative and libertarian values, or if you're independent, you're trying to figure that out. This is the time that you should engage in all speech, all talk, so you can understand where you lie. And what happens is administrators and professors and folks in academia tend to want to shut down speech if it's something they don't agree with. Or if it's controversial. We're living in the political correct time now, and if it's something that you don't agree with, you want to shut it down. And an example, Emory University, a couple months ago, had some students who were Trump supporters. They chalked Trump 2016 on the ground on campus, which is a sidewalk, and we had a group of students who went to the university president and said that they were appalled, that they were afraid for their lives because they saw Trump 2016 on their campus. I wrote an op-ed after that, said, well, what would Dr. Martin Luther King say about free speech on campus? He would be appalled that students would say they were afraid for their lives because they saw a writing of a political candidate on campus. What do you think Dr. King and some of the others were going through when they were beaten and physically threatened and attacked for trying to express their free speech? These students saw a sign on campus and said, oh, we're distressed and we're sick and we have to now take some days off of class to get counseling. I mean, what type of country do we live in where students feel that they have to take time off from class from something they've seen?
That's why we have safe zones, so they can be safe. They should have chalked that in the safe zone, then no one would be hurt.
Yeah, and then it would be even worse for them there.
As a professor, Ken, I'm going to have to say this. I'm totally against free speech. Yeah. I expect my students to pay for my speech.
and pay relatively well for it.
Yes, they do. student loans to prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor with the Exceptional One, Ken McClenton. We're talking today with CJ Saylor for Young Americans for Liberty. CJ, what's Young Americans for Liberty? Is this one of those little clubs that you get together, you hang out in the nice spots, and then you go back to school the next day kind of thing?
No. We were started in 2009 after Ron Paul's presidential bid. These were a group of students that were just really, fed up with the direction that the country was going in at the time.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep that energy, that vibrant energy that the young people had during Ron Paul's presidential campaign. And so a guy named Jeff Frazee and Ed King decided to start Young Americans for Liberty. They started out in 2009 with 96 chapters nationwide, and today we have over 700 and still growing. And these are young people that are excited about liberty and freedom, and they want to continue to advance it and spread that message on college campuses. They want to make sure that the Constitution is protected. They want to make sure our First and Second Amendments are protected. And quite frankly, what's happening on our campuses today, students are moving more to the left. They're starting to say, hey, we want free tuition. We want less guns. We want, less free speech. We want folks to be guarded on everything that they say, because if you say something that offends somebody, then you can be expelled from school. And who decides what's offensive and what's not?
Exactly. Who decides that? Who's the Mao Zedong of college industry? I mean, who designs I know the University of Michigan came out with a list of words that you cannot say on their campus.
Yeah.
Okay. That is, our founding fathers must be rolling over in the graves regarding that. We should not be so fearful of words that we censor people. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, absolutely right. And the very place that should be freely discussed and enjoyed is on a college campus. I mean, you go to college to learn more about yourself. You go to college to get educated, to learn about different philosophies, so you can go out and be a great American and contribute to society. Not you go to college and you're saying, oh, well, we don't want you to learn about Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
We don't want you to learn that the Constitution is the most sacred document that we have in our country. But we're finding that they're starting to do away without the Constitution. That's why every year on Constitution Day, Young Americans for Liberty, we hold a day where we pass out pocket constitutions to put those back in the students' hands to really, re-educate them on how important it to protect the Constitution is.
Well, the colleges must really appreciate that, CJ. I mean, because you're doing an educational thing. I mean, teaching children about the Constitution, about our history, the importance of the First Amendment. I mean, how well received is that?
Not well received. We actually had a university that stopped some students from passing out pocket constitutions on Constitution Day because they didn't get prior permission to do that. And they were told to shut down or that they would be expelled.
Wow.
And these are some of the issues that we're dealing with. But we're happy to say that we got a win this year. Blinn College, actually I had a free speech panel the other day here at Freedom Fest, and we talked about YAL's efforts to protect and value free speech on campus. Blinn College had a young lady named Nicole Sanders who last year was out picketing. She had a sign that said, hey, protect the Second Amendment, protect gun rights. And someone on campus, thought that was offensive. In light of all the violence that's been going on, they said that they don't think guns should be allowed on college campuses. And so they reported this to some administrators, and an armed police officer approached this young lady and told her that she needed to leave or that she would face expulsion. And so fire got involved. It was a year litigation. She filed a First Amendment lawsuit against Blinn College. And I'm happy to report that this past May she was awarded $50,000 in damages. And now Blinn College is revising their free speech policy. So it's
and
one
notice
school
they
at a
brought
time.
somebody with a gun to fix the problem.
Yeah. And it's good news. Arizona, the governor there just put in a law in place that all public colleges in Arizona cannot have a free speech zone, and these are public colleges in the state of Arizona. And if you're a student that controversial speakers coming to campus and you decide you want to block some doors and
like
stop
UCLA,
students, stop students, you can get a misdemeanor. You can get arrested for that. So Arizona is leading the way in that. There's 3 states right now that have banned free speech zones. That's Virginia, Missouri, and now Arizona. And so we're looking to to tackle some more this coming fall.
Well, it seems like a very critical crisis in America that free speech has been restrained, censored. Words that our founding fathers decided they could not stay in Britain if they were going to be subjugated to such behavior. How about the student who's sitting up in his dorm right now and saying to himself, I know I got this F because I wrote about Rand Paul's policies and ideas regarding, policies on free speech and things of that nature. But everyone else who wrote about Obama, they got A's.
Yeah.
I can't go out and I can't hand out leaflets to come to a Republican or GOP mixer because that's offensive. But if I held a mixer for a Democrat, that would be just wonderful.
Yeah.
What legal help is available for those individuals? What support mechanisms are in place for those individuals?
Yeah, well, a great teammate of ours at Young Americans for Liberty has been FIRE, known as the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. They protect students' rights in education. They have a 9-0 record when they're filing lawsuits against schools that are restricting First Amendment rights.
And they're here at Freedom Fest.
They are a great organization, very sound, and they're not just working with libertarians or conservatives. I mean, anybody that has an issue in which their civil rights have been violated or their free speech has been shut down, they're happy to help. And so I recommend them highly. They're a great organization to work with. And they're undefeated when it comes to free speech cases.
How can someone, especially on historically black colleges and universities, historical black colleges and universities, are they also availed such support in terms of free speech rights?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Actually, there's a young lady that works at FIRE that has been reaching out to some historically black colleges. They have a lot of issues with harassment. And they've been trying to reach out to them to get them engaged. And I can tell you, when I was a senior in college, I went to a historically black college, Morehouse College, which is the school Martin Luther King graduated from. Yeah. I wrote my senior thesis. I was a political science major. I wrote my senior thesis on the importance of charter schools in inner cities.
Yeah.
And I was...
and you got your degree?
Yeah. It took me a year. But I took my thesis back about 20 times.
Exactly.
Before I was able to really get a grade. To the point I had to get a dean involved because the professor didn't agree with my stance on charter schools.
Now, and unfortunately, the professor stepped away. But I've mentioned this to many people who are listening to us and hear us write, and they just can't conceive the notion that one man has the right to take away what you took 120 credit hours to achieve, 4 years to achieve. One man or one woman has the right or the authority given to them vested by the college to literally stop you from getting what you've earned.
Yeah.
Now, how do we respond to that? How do we fight that?
Yeah, well, we're doing it. We're educating students on censorship on content, on speech, in the academia, in the classroom. We're organizing and putting strategies in place for students to fight back.
Yeah.
And not to fight back in a combative way in which, this is, it's the administration versus the students, but in a way that they're just standing up and rising up and saying, hey, our speech is protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah.
And you have an obligation, you have a duty to value First Amendment rights, especially on a public university campus. So we're excited. We're optimistic about the future of free speech. As I mentioned, we got 3 states now that are banning free speech zones. We're looking to do a 4th. California is another huge state that
Good luck.
that has a huge free speech problem. They have a board of regents, so they got the California system there. So you got to go after all of them and not the individual ones. So our students are excited. That's the main thing that I get up every day excited that we have 18-year-old, 19-year-old students who are excited, saying we're not going to put up with this. We're ready to fight back. I just met a student today here at Freedom Fest who said, hey, well, free speech is a huge issue on my campus, and I want to start a YAL chapter just because of this issue. So it's
Wow.
students like that keep us going.
How do they get in contact with you, CJ?
Sure. Definitely could check us out on our website, www.yaliberty.org. That's www.yaliberty.org. You can find us on Facebook at YAL, and also on Twitter at YAL. And we're heavily engaged in social media. And also to join our efforts, if you know of a student or a family member or someone who's at a school that has bad speech policies that's restricting or censoring speech in any kind of way, please get in touch with us. We'll love
and when they
to
get
talk
in
to the
contact
students.
with you, they don't have to worry about retaliation from the university or anything of that nature. It's solemnly with you all that they contact.
That's right. And you know, we've had issues with retaliation and things like that, and we also work with some of our partner organizations and team up with them to ensure that those students are protected. That all these students want to do is just express their First Amendment rights, and why is that such a bad thing to do?
It's not. CJ Saylor, Young Adults for Liberty, here at Freedom Fest, Las Vegas.
All right.
2016, it's an honor and privilege to have you here, man. Thank you for
it's
fighting
a pleasure
the good
being on
fight.
the show. Thank you.
Awesome. CJ Saylor, get in contact with him at Young Americans for Liberty. Coming up,
all right,
we're going to be talking about something that's even more vital for those who are in the election year. It's called ballot access, and we will be speaking with a gentleman very shortly who is a champion for that, live from Freedom Fest, none other than SHR headquarters. So we'll be right back right after these messages.